What is up guys, Julien Miquel here of Social Vignerons. Welcome back to another wine video. Today we are going to talk about a popular wine myth and whether or not you should smell the cork once you've pulled it out of your bottle. So this is an impromptu, spontaneous, a bit of a ranting wine video that I do spontaneously when I feel there is something that you should really know about wine. I was just watching this video of a sommelier, I think he's a sommelier based in Texas, explaining how you should definitely not and you shouldn't smell the cork before tasting the wine and just after uncorking the bottle. He also argues that smelling a cork will tell you absolutely nothing about the wine. Here is the clip.
As if wine wasn't pretentious enough, there are a lot of myths that have really been going around the wine community that I just wanted to expose a little bit. I want to pull back the curtain for you and really show you that the emperor truly has no clothes, okay? The first one is going to be cork. You're at a restaurant, you've ordered a nice bottle of wine, the waiter or waitress comes to you with white cloth, over their arm, and they take the cork and they put the cork in front of you. Now, I don't know when this started, but instinctively, some person at some time reached out, grabbed the cork, and thought it would be a good idea to smell it. I have a question for you. What does cork smell like? Exactly, it smells like cork. It is not a good idea to try to smell the cork to see if the wine is any good at all. In fact, the cork tells you almost nothing about how the wine is going to taste.
So this guy claims he's debunking a wine myth, but he's actually creating one himself. And I'm going to explain you why it is actually important, and it can tell you a lot smelling the cork of a wine. Essentially, when you smell the cork of a wine before tasting the wine, a wine should only smell one of three things. Firstly, it could smell of nothing. And this is actually a good thing. A lot of plastic corks smell of nothing, a lot of agglomerated corks, those corks made of pieces of cork, a lot of those smell like nothing, and a lot of normal, natural, everyday corks smell of nothing as well. And this is actually a good thing. It means that your wine hasn't taken any taste, and any bad taste in particular, out of the cork. So that's a good thing. A cork sometimes may smell of wood. This is very true, particularly true for natural corks, obviously, that are straight pieces of cork tree. And this is a natural smell of some corks, especially a very good cork, high-end cork, long corks, especially on expensive bottles. You might have noticed that on expensive bottles, age-worthy wines, corks are longer and often made of natural cork that smells like wood, a little bit smoky, a little bit biscuity, a little bit like caramel, and that's perfectly fine as well. It may have given a little bit of a wood taste to the wine, but that's generally positive thing rather than a bad one. So smell of wood in the cork is perfectly fine. Thirdly, your cork may smell like wine. Yeah, believe it or not, it may smell like wine. That's particularly true when the wine has started to get through the cork. Obviously the cork is there to avoid the wine getting out of the bottle, but the wine slowly but surely gets through the cork, and that's especially true when you cellar and store a wine for years and years, for a long time in the cellar. The wine slowly sort of eats through its way through the cork. And that's normal, that's a very normal process. So when you pull the cork out, it's going to smell like wine. Obviously it's a different story. If it smells like vinegar, it's probably going to mean that your wine is going to taste like vinegar as well. But if it just smells like wine, again, it means the cork hasn't given a bad taste. So in all those cases, you're good to go. And it's true, like the sommelier says, that in those cases, smelling the cork won't tell you anything. It will tell you nothing about what the wine is going to taste like, and that's going to be up to the wine tasting, obviously, to assess the quality of the wine. Where it gets interesting though is if your cork smells a bit dusty. if it smells like an old cave, if it smells like an old cellar, if it smells a bit like fungi. Sometimes you may also be able to identify cork taint straight away, pungent, powerful, fungi, camembert cheese like sort of smell. If the cork smells like this, it's pretty much guaranteed that your wine, when you taste it, is going to be cork taint as well. So what do I do when I identify cork taint in the cork? I generally sniff my wine, and 99 times out of 100 the wine also smells like cork. What does that tell me? This tells me that I'm not going to bother putting the wine in my mouth and destroying my palate with all the stinky, sticky cork taint. At least I will pay very close attention when I smell the wine to make sure that it's not corked taint. So smelling the cork beforehand has told me, hey, this wine is a little bit weird. I might pay double attention to sniffing it before I put it on my palate. So that's one and a very important good reason why smelling the cork is important, and why you should do it, because you just want to know more about what you're going to be tasting, right? It's fair enough thing to do and to know. Second reason why you should definitely smell the cork is a little bit more complicated, but it's very important as well. Cork comes from mainly one molecule that's called TCA, trichloroanisole, and I made a whole video about what is cork taint, so if you want to learn more about this, I'll link to that video that you should definitely watch somewhere up here. Cork taint comes from a molecule called trichloroanisole, and that molecule is efficient against our taste buds at very, very low concentration. And even if a wine isn't powerfully tainted with a very nasty, corky smell, it doesn't mean that TCA isn't present in small concentration in your wine. If TCA is present in a small concentration in your wine, it's going to fade out and dim and dull all the other aromas. It's going to fade out all the fruitiness, the spices, the smokiness, and the oakiness of your wine. Everything is going to be tamed, everything is going to be shy at low concentration, even though you can't really tell that the wine is corked. So if you smell your cork before assessing and smelling the wine, if your cork is dusty, it's going to tell you that probably and quite possibly the wine that you're being poured, or the wine that you're pouring, is not at its 100%, and there's a good chance that there's a small concentration of TCA that fades out the aromatic profile and the aromatic expression of your wine. So when I taste wine as a professionally, as a wine writer, blogger, winemaker, and also as a wine judge, if I smell a wine and if I smell the cork and the cork is dusty, I'm going to have that bottle changed, or I'm going to take another wine so I can properly make sure I'm assessing the wine as it should be. Because it is possible that I'm assessing and reviewing and scoring that wine, not smelling the cork taint. It's not properly cork taint, but it's not at its 100% because the cork is a little bit dusty, is a little bit rotten, and it's affected the wine. So I'm going to reject that bottle, take another one. If it smells the same, then yeah, it's probably because the wine is a bit dull and the wine is a little bit dusty as well. But there's a good chance, and 99 times out of 100, I actually find out that with a dusty cork, even if the wine is not cork, I'm getting a better bottle if I change the bottle. I also think that a sommelier at a high-end restaurant, at a good restaurant, if you're buying an expensive bottle of wine, the cork shouldn't be dusty and the wine should be at its 100%. And a good sommelier should smell the wine, and even if the wine is not 100% corked, a good sommelier should tell you, okay, I realize this bottle is not 100%, it's because the cork is a bit dusty, and I'm going to swap that bottle for you so you can enjoy your experience to the fullest and the normal expression of the wine. A good sommelier, especially if you're buying an expensive bottle, should definitely be able to tell you, okay, the wine is not corked, but it's not 100%, so I'm going to change that bottle for you. So that's another extremely good reason. Don't judge a wine if the cork is a little bit dusty, because you might think the winery is bad, the wine is bad, you might think that the restaurant has served you a dull wine, and while it's not actually the winery's fault or the sommelier's fault or the restaurant's fault, it's just that the cork is a little bit dusty, but it doesn't smell obviously corked to anyone else. And that's a subtlety that not that many wine people know, but it's just fundamental. And if you know your wine, if you want to judge wine, if you're a wine professional, you should definitely do that. And I think that's also why this sommelier and many sommeliers won't tell you about this. And I understand swapping bottles for a restaurant, for a sommelier, is frustrating. It's bad from a business standpoint as well, and sommelier probably don't want you to know that, but it's just a fact. It's a scientific fact, and smelling a cork tells you and helps you understand that scientific fact. Now, one important fact as well, you do want to smell the cork straight after you pulled the cork out of the bottle. I have noticed that even cork taint, even strong cork taint, evaporates out of the cork fairly quickly, sometimes within a few minutes, but so you kind of want to pull the cork out and smell it straight away. Sometimes if you just put it away for a few minutes, it doesn't smell as obviously dusty or corked as if you do it straight away. So and that's also why sommeliers do pull the cork out and hand you over the cork for you to smell. It's not a myth. Smelling a cork can tell you a lot if you know what to look for, and I hope after this video you do. And that was me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're new here, have a look around my YouTube channel. I do love sharing the passion, the love, the knowledge, the science of wine, and the science and the passion for our terroir and our great vignerons, our great wine growers that make some great wines and that are sometimes annoyingly destroyed by the cork. And so we have to put the truth and the facts straight. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in the wine world.